That's Jeff Louderback from All in Ohio, and I'm here with my co-host Samantha Rayburn. And we are here at Superb Canning in Sugarcreek, Ohio. And I'm here with John Miller, the founder and CEO. And John, we're in the testing facility of Superb Canning. And I know more and more people are beginning to understand the Superb, but they're starting to think of Superb as the canning enthusiast, the ultimate item for the canning enthusiast instead of ball. I know you have a great story, and maybe it'd be good to start out by sharing with us how it started, because I think that's the most amazing thing.
Well, we got a call the week before Thanksgiving in 2020 from our friends at Louderback Foods. They couldn't get canning lids. They asked us if we could produce one, so we decided to do that, but we wanted to be better than ball. So we have, I'm standing here in our laboratory where we test stuff. So we went out and got all the competition's lids, dissected them, and did the testing and baselined that and just said, you know, we've got to be better than ball. That's the goal. And that, so we did that over about a 5 months period, and were able to save the harvest in 2021. But testing is something that's ongoing, so we can dozens of jars every day in this laboratory with all three canning methods. So we do hot fill, which people use, and make sure it works for that. We do pressure canning and water bath, and then right now, right behind us here, we're cooking away. So we simulate it every day to make sure that every lot is good. And you know, if you're out there looking at a lid, if you look at the side, there's a code that is printed right on here. So we can tell you which day it was made and out of what lot, if there's ever an issue.
And then I know, Samantha, you're the founder of Hadassah's Herbs for Health and Healing, and you use canning jars, and so then you become really proficient at that. And that's been, I mean, you've been canning for a long time. I'm still fairly a novice at canning, but I just think this whole thing is fascinating. How important do you think canning, having the quality of a canning jar is?
That's huge. The reason it's so huge is because, well, if you're canning something, those jars break sometimes, and when they don't, it's nice they don't work. So that can cost, it's actually it's running down. So you want to make sure that those jars are just right. I love the idea that, I didn't know that about your jars. There's a date on the side or something?
There's a code on the side of the lid.
That is so incredible.
So it tells you which machine it was made on, what date, and then we have process data that we can go back to and see what was done in that day. And again, we're automotive suppliers, so we made over 1 billion engineered components last year for various parts of the automotive industry. That's standard procedure. You have to be able to trace, and if there's ever a recall or something like that, you have to be able to not trace it and do that.
And how did it evolve into I know when we first talked a couple years ago, it was canning lids and seals, but then it's the whole thing now. How did it evolve?
So we have partnered with a company in Georgia. There's going to be a big announcement here in the next few weeks. So we were partnering with another family-owned American company to make the glass for us. So Superb Art Glass hopefully will become what Ball Mason used to be.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons we chose them is because they have the latest technology. There's also, they actually have what they call jar DNA. So if you look at the bottom of the jar, if you can see this, Samantha, that's one of our jars. It has a laser edge code, again, that tells you which day it was made. And so you have the traceability that the competition doesn't have. And to your point about breaking glass, the reason glass breaks is determined by a number of factors, but the testing methodology to do that is called thermal shock. So if I take it, I mean, a lot of different people have different methods. I mean, the safe way is to turn the stove off and let it cool off in it, but nobody has time to do that. So you take it out of boiling water and you set it on the counter, and the thermal temperature change provides a shock, which if you have a stress riser in your glass, that will then cause a fracture, and then the bottom comes out, and it all flows out, and you have a big mess. So we have a methodology on thermal shock testing to prevent that from happening.
That is incredible. I cannot count the amount of times I had jars break on me over the years while I was canning various foods, and that would be nice.
Well, I mean, it's a glass jar. You
Right,
can always
it
break
happens,
it. I mean,
yes.
you can make unbreakable glass,
Right.
but you wouldn't want to pay for it. I mean, it's tempered glass, and you may remember the dishes that, I remember we had a salesman come to our house and threw dishes across the floor. And even those you could break. But under normal circumstances, you should be able to take, and Rob has, we tested it here in the lab, and the way we test it is we take literally tomato juice and we boil it, and then we drop it into a bucket of ice water, okay, to test the shock. We do know that those tests have been curtailed with the competition. They don't test it any longer. That's why we got that kind of thing. So we have a very simple, the name on the building is Superb, so that's a very high standard. We take that standard very seriously. We test every day to make sure it meets those standards.
Because it's superb. I love that word. Yeah, it's cute. I like it. I love that word.
And here we're here in Amish country, and obviously we've talked about the entrepreneurial spirit here. About, I mean, this has been a way of life in Amish country. Homesteading is not really homesteading; it's just
a way to do stuff.
A way of life that's still, I mean, and it's now starting to come back. We're working together on the Food Independence Summit, which is a Seed to Spoon event where I know you and Marcus Linger at Berlin Seeds, and I mean, it's just there's so many Walnut Creek Foods. There's so many innovative companies here. It's just I think that's an interesting storyline. It's just like you all seem to motivate and inspire each other with the type of work you do and the lifestyle here, and now it's spreading out throughout the country.
Well, we hope so. Becoming independent, and that's, you want to talk about the essence of the United States. You know, it's independence. That's what that was the founder's ideal. And of course, if you don't have food, it's kind of hard to be independent. And you know, there was a time when most food was grown at least within the close proximity of where it was consumed. And to the extent that we can return to some of that, I think we'll be healthier and be able to make sure that we have food for our families. So the Food Independence Summit covers that all the way from seed to spoon. This year they'll be on June 18th and 19th. We've got a great lineup of speakers. That's some really big names we're bringing in. Our focus this year is wellness as it relates to food.
Yeah.
So we're hoping to see a lot of people out there. You literally, if you come to the Food Independence Summit, we have so many workshops, so many speakers, you can be there for 2 days and not be able to see everything.
Yeah, and it's a remarkable and inspirational event, and we're going to have ongoing segments for all in Ohio, more segments telling more about the Superb story and the Food Independence Summit story and the Berlin Seed story. But before we wrap up about canning, I think it's interesting. It's related to the Food Independence Summit where you could grow all the food. Like last year was my first year growing a garden, and I have a tower garden and growing microgreens. You could do all that. You could grow anything you want, but if you don't have a way to preserve it, it goes to waste.
Right, and if you can't store it, it's seasonal. Obviously, there are a number of preservation methods. Canning is one of them. You can freeze, depending on the type of vegetable or fruit. You can also freeze dry, and that's come back again, and it's a good method. Of course, we think canning is the right way to do it. I mean, I'm kidding. I mean, it's one way of doing it. And another thing I should mention is the competition is at 18 months. We're at 36 months and counting. Actually, we designed it for 60 months. We don't have the data yet to put that on the label. But if you have a superb seal, it'll be there for years. And as long as you have vacuum on it and that seal isn't broken, the food's going to be good.
Do you have any closing words, Samantha, that you'd like to say or ask? Questions you want to ask?
I don't have any. I'm shocked. You covered it very well. And with all the canning that I've done, I just fascinated. And that's amazing.
Well, I'll close with this.
Okay.
When we initially did this to help out the community, because they literally couldn't get leads, right? But when I went and looked at the supply chain and the way that things were being manufactured, it became very apparent to me very quickly that nobody had thought about this in a meaningful way for 50 years. And there are a lot of, obviously manufacturing technology has changed a lot in the last 50 years. That hasn't been updated. We were able to go back and look at this and apply the latest manufacturing technology to it and be able to make the product more consistent. And so the Amish Mennonite community, if you have anybody that's change averse, okay, we have 65% of that market in the space of 3 years. We've taken 65% away from the competition. So in the big box stores, we're at about 25%. So we were very serious about being the leading brand for food preservation as it relates to canning.
I love that. I love that you've taken it so seriously because it's personal to you.
Right.
This is what you do. This
Well,
is what people do.
we've taken it seriously, but we're really not doing anything different here than we do for all our other customers. You don't ship over 1 billion parts a year and not care.
Exactly.
You have to have a team, in our case, of about 100 people that care every day to make a superb product.
And just as passionate about the product as the buyers.
You need to be. Yes.
I agree.
Well, we're going to be having a series of podcasts related to Superb, so we'll wrap this up, this segment. The testing center is just a cool thing to see. So appreciate your time, John, and you could look for more stories on Superb on All in Ohio, and then more podcasts coming up and more information on the Food Independence Summit. And we appreciate you joining us.